engage in the fight. You have to engage in the fight. When I studied the book of Exodus back last year sometime, when I got to chapter 13 and I read here verses 17 through, well, actually through the end of verses 13, and I thought, God absolutely will sometimes lead us through the wilderness because he knows that we are not prepared for the demons, for the battle that's going to be in the next place that he's trying to lead us to. So he is Jehovah Rohi. He is our God who directs and orders our footsteps. He is our good shepherd. And part of the shepherd's responsibility is making sure that the sheep are protected. And so that's exactly what he did right here with the children of Israel as he was leading them out to the promised land. Instead of him taking them through the short way, the shorter route where they would have immediately gone through the land where the Philistines were, and he knew that they were not prepared for that. Okay. He knew that they weren't. So, him being who he is, also Jehovah Gabor, our God of war, our God mighty and strong in battle. He said, you know what? Let me take them through this way. Because as I take them through this way, and then they come up to the Red Sea, when they see Pharaoh and when they see his armies coming upon them, and they see this sea right here, they are going to humble themselves because remember, God has taken them out of the hands of their oppressors. And the whole time they're murmuring and they're complaining because they still have this slave mentality, right? Like they don't understand what it truly means to be free. They're worshiping other gods and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, as God leads them out to the promised land. So they go and they get to the Red Sea, and here comes Pharaoh. And then they're like, oh my God, why did you bring us here to die? Were there not graves for us back in Egypt? All of these crazy things. But fear will cause you to humble yourself, right? And so they were humbled right there for that moment that God allowed them, but he had to show his mighty hand before them to cause them to trust him. So the wilderness will also put us in a position to where our faith and our trust in God is even more elevated. It grows in that place. And a lot of believers are going through different wilderness seasons because they refuse to learn to war. He said, I teach your hands to war and your fingers to fight. Again, that is Jehovah Gabor. I have a hard time reading the word of God and not seeing it from a militant perspective, meaning that when I study and read the word, I am getting more ammunition to load into my clip because I know that once I'm done with this battle, it'll be just a little while or just a little bit further up the road before I've got to engage in another one. So he will fight through us because that is who he is, but we absolutely have to do the work. So again, we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and spirits of darkness in high places, spirits of wickedness. How do we wrestle lest we know how it is that we are to war? And how do we know how to war unless we allow him to teach us in the wilderness? So if you're tired of being in the wilderness, if you're tired of being in that place right now, no matter, I don't know what it is, it could be sickness, it could be, lack, it could be problems on the job, whatever it is. If you're just waiting until the time just exhausts itself and the time just goes by instead of engaging in the fight, you're going to stay there longer than what you have to and longer than what God really needs you to. Because what he really needs us to do is to stay engaged, to keep going forth, because we have work to do in this earth. It's all about taking dominion. That is how God establishes his kingdom here in the earth. But if we don't know the authority that we have, and if we're waiting and waiting for God to do something when he was like, nah, this is on you. I'm trying to teach you something in this. If you refuse to learn and refuse to engage, that's rebellion. That's what kept the Israelites in the wilderness for 40 years, when really it was only about a 3 to 4 week journey on foot. That's crazy. Don't be crazy.